paid $4 for that.
Wow. And I cannot say that you got your money's worth.
Nah. Hey guys, it's Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, back again with Doctor Who Classic. Last time on Doctor Who Classic, we had the final 3 parts of the Dalek Invasion of Earth. What was that about?
The Resistance finally managed to get the Doctor and Ian and Barbara and Susan all back together. And they managed to, I don't know, overthrow the Daleks somehow. They managed to...
they turned the Robo-Men on them.
Messed up the Robo-Men. And, anyway. And then, no surprise to us anyway, because we've been kind of suspecting this, Susan decided to stay behind with... David. I want to say Tony. David, anyway. To help rebuild the Earth.
Yes. So we lost our companion there. Now, also... Last time in the Peter Cushing Doctor Who movies, we had Doctor Who and the Daleks, which that was October, I want to say, when we watched that one.
Really?
I think that was October. Yeah.
Seems so much nearer than that. It was such a painful memory.
Yeah. So on that one, it was just a recreation of the first Dalek serial, and a bad one at that.
Yes.
And now...
What's really so sad about that is that, Peter Cushing, a great actor, that was not Doctor Who.
Apparently he was offered... 3 times he was offered the role of the Doctor on the series, and he declined. And he said later that he regretted doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun. So guess what we're doing today?
I'm sorry, you and I must have a very different definition of fun.
All right,
I've had fun before, and that was not fun.
All right, so that was painful. So guess what we're doing today? We are doing the sequel today. Because we finished up the Daleks Invasion of Earth, today we are watching Daleks Invasion of Earth 2150 AD, the sequel from 1966.
Okay.
Yeah. This will just be like the last movie reactions. Also, if you guys saw, I did a reaction to the Death Note movie, so this is sort of continuing those movie reactions. Full-length patrons are able to watch our full unedited reaction to this for some reason if they want to do that. I don't know how many people are going to want to do that.
Masochists.
Yeah, if you want to... And that's the thing is, you do have to pay for that. So I don't know how many people are going to want to pay to watch this.
Yeah.
Although I did pay for us to watch this. But if you don't want to do that, which I don't blame you if you don't, if you wait just a minute, then we will start our highlight reaction, which will just be the normal edited goodness. Also, I just noticed. So the version we're watching is the one that YouTube has. I rented this from YouTube, and I noticed that there's no comments on this video on the movie, but there are 40 likes and there are 2 dislikes. So I just thought that was funny that even people that paid for this and knew what they were getting into still disliked it. So I guess that's pretty much it. This is apparently people say this one's better, but I don't know.
Okay, but that's it's like it's better than poke in the eye with a sharp stick.
Yeah, I mean, it's technically better, but the bar was set very low.
Very low. Yeah.
The only other thing I know about this movie is that it actually features... one of the actors featured in it will actually later be a recurring character in the 10th Doctor's era on Doctor Who, and he was a great character there. He's not playing that character here, but that'll be interesting.
That's like 40 years difference.
Yes, he later on in the 10th Doctor's era, he plays one of the main companions' grandfathers. So,
okay,
yeah. All right, we should get started on this.
Let's just do this.
Yeah, here we go.
Why? Daleks Invasion Earth.
We're back.
Bach.
Sorry, I think I put on Dracula by accident.
He's got a terrible bump on his head.
Oh, nothing that a little fresh air won't cure. I'll see what's going on outside.
That is funny. He thought it was an actual police box.
It's always happening around here.
Yeah, look right at the camera and mug. All right, so where's Ian?
I don't think Ian's in this movie.
Allow me to introduce myself. I am Doctor Who. This is my niece Louise and my granddaughter Susan.
Oh, so
And
Barbara's not in
this
this
is my
either.
time and space machine.
Oh no, the TARDIS is blocked.
Still have sugar puffs in the 22nd century. What's with the bunny rabbit dolls?
Well, you know, when they're done with their work in the warehouse, they have fun, I guess. I'm trying to make sense of it. Why can't they just open the doors inward on the TARDIS and get in?
Again, World War II. Picture of a World War II plane there on the wall. Rather than some attempt to look like more modern. Well, there's an upgrade.
Yeah.
Well, it appears to be landing in the vicinity of Sloane Square.
Now, come on, Doc. Let's find the girls and get out of here.
You know, his voice is still kind of weird, but Cushing's doing a lot better in this so far. Dalek's getting pushed a little bit by the waves. Is it me, or is this a lot faster than the last movie?
Yeah. That's the one thing it's got going for it. They have to cram 3 hours down into an hour 20.
Yeah, but the last movie had to do more episodes and it was slower.
A very Enterprise sort of nacelles there on the back.
Well,
Move into the compartment! Move!
do the Robomen have enough pockets?
Sure, they bought those off the rack at the leather boutique.
Feel bad for Tom. He's just trying to stop a crime. Now he's dealing with
Is it
Daleks.
Tom or Charles? I thought his name was Charles.
No, I think it's Tom.
Oh.
Tom Campbell, I think.
We're taking the prisoner. Come on!
You know, you don't necessarily... Like, there's not necessarily, like, Doctor Who music you could play during this, but the Tom and Jerry music does seem a little odd.
Again, that's very 60s action film type music.
The bombs are no good!
I thought they were good. Remember how last movie they said exterminate like once? They're really making up for it now. If only they had lasers.
Yeah, they're limited by short range. You've got to be within 5 or 6 feet of them.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Inject some humor.
Hey, now they're in proper formation. Why does that guy look stupid? The one to his left. He looks particularly stupid. That was a really dumb sequence.
So that means this could have been like 3 minutes shorter.
Yeah, because they added that specifically.
Your bombs were no good. We didn't have a chance.
Got to go on resisting. We must.
But you can't fight metal with flesh and blood.
Do you think they're going to end up leaving Susan behind at the end of this?
I doubt it.
No.
We'll have to get away from here.
Right.
Unless that's what Louise is
Make our
for.
way to the outskirts of London. We can pick up a van there. There's plenty of
I'm just curious what happened to Ian and
We
Barbara.
can hide out in the country somewhere till we...
So how does he not wake up? Or is he deliberately...
No, I think he just didn't wake up. Oh, there he goes. Those Robomen are stupid not to figure him out.
Oh, it's I Love Lucy!
Do the Daleks feed them Skittles?
Looks like it. On paper plates.
Lift that up. Come on.
When we land, I wonder if we could get out of that disposal chute.
You mean that horrific sucks everything up at the speed of light chute? Well, that was your own fault. Should we check to see if anyone jumped out at the last second? Nah, it's probably fine.
Well, the one thing that is better is the special effects.
Yeah.
Still, the saucer's landed.
Although they never did the shot of the Daleks roaming around in London.
You can't walk on that leg for a while. You can stay here till it's better if you like.
Thank you.
So did Susan pass her
Mostly
foot injury onto
potatoes, but
him?
there's a bit of meat in it.
I had to deliver these clothes.
Forward, or you will be exterminated!
I'd like to know how the Dalek got down to the level of the cabin since they had to go down that little
I wanted
step.
to go to the mine anyway.
Well, that smells good.
Yes, she does.
Well, they cut the slither out.
Oh, thank you.
I feel like you can overpower this guy.
I'm surprised he didn't say, you know, you're a real wanker.
Doctor!
Louise! Keep your voices down.
Shouldn't she say, Uncle?
They wanted to be in on the big deal.
It's interesting that most of their controls on the control board are made for human hands, and all they've got is this one little pincher.
Target or check commencing now!
I would not want to be in that Dalek suit.
Where's the old shaft?
Straight up.
Would be, wouldn't it?
This is a much better plan than Ian's put a couple logs in there to stop it.
Come and give us a hand.
I'm so sorry.
No, don't apologize. I expected it.
You will come with me!
I told you he had a knife.
Yeah,
Shoot him.
please.
You can always tell it's made out of balsa wood.
Nah.
Real wood wouldn't have floated like that. Is this where he finds the conveniently placed rods?
Oh, maybe. Oh, that will allow it to go into the other. Yeah.
All vessels, prepare to position capsule! Capsule to forward position!
I would not want to be in any of these Dalek suits. Well, in general, but also when they're so close to these ledges.
You would think that there might be some kind of lip or something to keep them from going over.
Yeah.
The fracture is near the meeting point of the magnetic influence of the North and South poles. You are afraid of that magnetism, are you not? But you know that it cannot harm human beings. One mistake.
I don't know if it's a good idea to be pulling on those when you're right over the hole.
Oh no, they can be defeated with a tarp.
That was dumb. Oh, because they're all being magnetized.
Yeah.
That's why it's turning into a Wile E. Coyote cartoon. Well, that was better than last time, at least.
Doctor, you did say you'd put me back a couple of minutes before the villains robbed the jewelry store, didn't you?
Yes, and so I shall.
So, but he would still come by and then...
Detective Inspector Tom Campbell. OBE.
Order of the British Empire.
Thank you, lads.
I'm pretty sure they just changed time, but whatever.
Okay, when Tom went into it at the beginning, didn't he push the door inward?
Yeah, I probably.
There they pushed it outward, which, again, like you said, once the beams fell on it there in future London,
Yeah.
why couldn't they have just pushed it inside?
Well, that's the thing, too, is that even in the original episodes, they always go inward.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
And I got to say, Bernard Cribbins, playing Tom Campbell there, looks very familiar.
Yeah.
So, we'll look him up later.
All right. That's it. Daleks Invasion of Earth 2150 AD. Objectively better than the first one.
Yes. But still, it was awful. It's just awful. I mean, it's mercifully shorter. Special effects, especially the spaceship.
I think it's the exact same length, though, as the last movie.
Well, maybe it's the movie, but
yeah,
also
well,
comparing it
shorter
than the serial.
Yeah.
Peter Cushing was better this time, but again, he's not Doctor Who. He's not the Doctor. Sorry, he is Doctor Who.
He wasn't given a lot to do.
Yeah. And the script by comparison, being shorter, doesn't have quite as many plot holes in it.
One problem, though, is that kind of like the last one, it's like, this is technically a faithful adaptation. Like, everything still happens the way it happens. It's just that, last time it's like, okay, well, this is still just, super slow and not interesting, and we don't have any of our main, actors. This time it's like, well, it's a lot faster, but it's still the exact same thing. Like, the only thing they cut out is the relationship between Susan and David. And so it's like, so I'm just kind of watching this like, yeah, we talked about this last week, It's the exact same story. I don't know, like, there's not too much new thwas that we could talk about.
Yeah.
So
Now, I will say the plot point of Ian not getting into the bomb, that was better being cut out. That was somewhat ludicrous in the serial. But again, some of the stuff that they left in, I mean, seriously, the two women who turned in Susan and the guy didn't seem to make as much sense now. It wasn't really a big thing. That could have been left out. So I don't know. Again, it just seems like this was somebody who said, "Hey, let's go make some large, piles of cash."
Yeah.
And again, I understand why this isn't canon, because it's dreadful.
Yeah. Although I think Peter Cushing had a theory that it was technically like it's an alternate universe of Doctor Who, so he kind of wanted it to be like backwards canon, but yeah, I mean it was, I don't know, this one bombed. That's the thing. Like objectively, yes, this is better than the last one, but this is the one that bombed. They were going to do a third one based on the next Dalek serial, which I think is going to be in season 2, I think, but I don't remember. But they were going to make a third one, but this one didn't make the money that the last one did. So,
well, by 1966, of course, we're starting to get some really good science fiction films and science fiction TV, not only in Great Britain but in the United States. So maybe it didn't hold up.
Yeah, I mean 1966, so Star Trek would have started around this time.
Yeah.
1966 would also be around the time that Patrick Troughton took over on Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just, well, you also have to think like, okay, if you don't know Doctor Who, like, maybe not like, okay, if you don't know Doctor Who at all, but if you don't know, like, the serial this is based on, the Dalek Invasion of Earth, like, I hope you can follow this, because there's no time to, like, stop and rest and think about it. It's just like, nope, we have to go through every plot point, other than the Slither. We have to go through every plot point as fast as possible. So.
Yeah. And, again, for someone who had never seen Doctor Who before, the TV show, I don't know that they would have gone back to watch the TV show based on this movie. Because, again, it doesn't really explain anything. It doesn't explain. You have to assume anybody who saw this movie saw the original movie or the TV serial. Otherwise, here's just a funny old man with his niece and his granddaughter flying around the universe in a police box.
Yeah.
So there's no setup. It's just again, it seems like a cash grab to me more than anything else.
Yeah. I guess we can go into the notes. Again, problem with this is that at a point I kind of stopped taking notes because I was like, there's nothing to talk about that we didn't already talk about in the last episode.
Yeah.
But I tried. So the first 2 notes I had are the new characters, Tom Campbell and Louise, are replacements for Ian and Barbara, which, let's be fair, last movie Ian and Barbara really weren't anything, so it doesn't matter too much.
And he introduces Louise as his niece.
Yes. And she honestly looked as old as Barbara did in the last movie, but she was still his granddaughter, so I don't know, we just have to assume they died at some point and they're not here anymore. So
yeah, it's so many inconsistencies.
You also have to wonder, like, what has happened since the last movie? We don't know. Like, do we have to assume, like, well, after the last movie, Marco Polo, the Aztecs, the Sensorites, did all that happen or not? Like, even in this, like, okay, because they started in the 60s, so there was none of that, we have to somehow get back to the 60s, is that they started in the 60s, they happen to be there, and then they just happen to be going to 2150 AD, they get trapped and end up fighting the Daleks, So...
And, although I enjoyed Bernard Cribbins as Tom, and the idea of a policeman who has, certain physical skills and mental skills would certainly be an asset to a plot like this. I don't want to say he's played completely as a buffoon, but let's face it, he seems to be there mostly for comic relief. And
which I mean, technically in the last movie, so was Ian. I feel like Tom is a bit better here.
Yeah.
I feel like he's a bit more useful than in the last movie. Ian was really just a bumbling idiot, But yeah, it's like they did sort of stick Tom in a couple comedic situations, but honestly, other than that, he really wasn't given too much to do.
Yeah. And again, given the fact that he's a policeman, and a British policeman who doesn't use guns, the British did not have. I don't think they allowed them to carry guns back then.
No.
Notice he had his truncheon, his little nightstick.
Well, they don't do that. Just as a side note, they don't do that now because that was something on Torchwood where one of the main characters was a police officer, and I was watching this like, so and they train her to use a gun. I was like, does she not have any guns? Like, and so people had to explain to me that in the UK police don't carry guns. It has to be like special forces.
Well, I knew they did that back then. I didn't know it was still that way. But and he would have to be a specimen in fairly good physical shape.
Yeah,
and again, as an inspector, constable, whatever he is, he would have certain detective skills, which again just seem to be totally wasted here.
Well, yeah, because it's like I could see the potential of that, but they stuck this character into the Dalek Invasion of Earth, where that is not needed, really. Like there's no purpose to having that in the Dalek Invasion of Earth. If this was a different story, I mean, that still doesn't fully fit into like any of the other stories we've seen. But...
And Louise there at the end noticed she was pouring some stuff into a beaker, and I think at the beginning she was doing so. You kind of got the setup that she was some kind of scientist.
Yeah, maybe.
And yet again, was just damsel in distress.
Yeah, she really didn't do anything in this one. I mean, all three of them, I guess Tom did the most of the three companions, but yeah, she really didn't do anything to, I guess, justify her character. They didn't even go with, well, she's going to stay behind at the end, because they didn't even do that plot line. So it's like, yeah, there's no purpose to her. There's honestly no purpose to Susan, which says a lot, because Susan didn't have a lot to do in the show anyway. But there's really nothing for Susan to do, and especially when they drop the one and only plotline they ever gave her. So it's like, so why does he have these three? Like, okay, maybe Tom could be useful in a different story, but other than that...
I would suspect that Susan in this particular movie was there simply to, get younger audiences to come see it.
I guess.
Because she had seriously no purpose whatsoever in this.
No, she really didn't. Let's see. The third thing I wrote down was just fast. The movie was fast. Like, just go just through and through. We are hitting every last note, but we have to do this in an hour and 20 minutes. So
I don't know if you've ever heard this, but there was a guy in the late 60s, early 70s who went by the name of PDQ Bach. And he took a lot of these wonderful, classic and neoclassic music pieces and put them on the synthesizer and then played them at 3 or 4 times their normal speed. The PDQ stood for pretty damn quick. And so that's what this was. It was just a pretty damn quick version of Invasion of the Daleks.
Which, okay, yeah, we did watch this. We watched this, all in one go, and it was just an hour and 20 minutes. And that's kind of nice because, with the last 2 Dalek serials, the first one, we did watch that all in one go, but that was still 7 episodes. And then the Dalek Invasion of Earth, we split that up, but it's but it wasn't good. It wasn't good. All character is gone. It's just... I'll
need a thesaurus to come up with how many adjectives for bad, horrible, atrocious, unbelievable, disastrous.
I mean, that's the thing. I don't know how long this discussion's going to be, because there's just there's only so much we can talk about.
All right, well, let's just get it over with.
The one thing I thought they kind of improved was the attack on the Dalek saucer, because it's I could actually understand what was happening, because when we watched the first one, I was I didn't know what was going on. It's they're throwing the bombs, but they're not doing anything. Are they supposed to do that, or is it just the effects? And I was I don't know what's happening. And everyone's running everywhere, and Ian gets left behind and stuff. And
well, again, assuming that because of the amount of money they had to spend on it, they were able to, I don't know if they would actually have a fight coordinator, but they were able to stage that a little bit better so that it made more sense, and probably had more time to film that because, as people have pointed out, these series were basically taped or filmed about a week in advance. So they had more time to do that here, and that's why it's more cohesive in that specific instance.
Yeah, so and the bombs, I mean, they kind of worked. I almost feel you could have dropped that entire story thread. It's oh yeah, the bombs, but they don't work, and it's I mean, they worked a little bit on the Robo Men, but that was it. And
well, they appeared to work if you could get close enough to the Dalek to surprise them.
Yeah.
I noticed that the doctor in the wheelchair threw a couple of them, and it stopped the first one, but didn't stop the second one. That's when he decided to bring the side of the building down on them. So
yeah, something like that. Let's see. We did have that little comedy routine with Tom and the Robomen that just it kept going and going and it kept going. So
yes,
I'm sorry. Should we have brought whiskey for you to get through this?
maybe. But yes, here's the thing: the comedy in the series tended never to be physical. It's always the wittier stuff. It's always the play on historical situations or play on words, things like that. But to do literally, I Love Lucy. Here's all of these Skittles on paper plates coming out of the food replicator, and here, let's sit and do the sitting and no, that's abominable. That they should have put that in.
Well, and the entire routine, like the first part of the routine where it's like, the only reason that this is like a weird situation is because he's sitting in the front row where there were already 4 people, whereas if he sat in the back where there were only 3 people, it would be fine. He could just blend in, Yeah. And it's like, okay, so that happened.
That's an interesting way to describe the entire movie. That happened.
Yeah. It was about 45 minutes before I took another note. I did write down new plan, which the more that went on, I was kind of thinking like, I guess this is kind of the old plan, which the plan that we had in the serial, which wasn't really a plan, it was just that Ian, stopped the bomb with those logs, and then they just went and had the Robomen attack all the Daleks and stuff. I like that it was there were a bit more specifics on this plan, where it's like, okay, we need to stop the bomb, send it to
the other mine shaft, whatever that was.
The other mine shaft, which went to, I guess, like the outer part of the Earth's magnetic power, and that will suck in all the Daleks. And it's like, because at first when it's like, oh, magnetism is their weakness, I was like, okay, how is magnetism their weakness? Like, oh, because they're all metal. Duh. That makes sense.
But again, when you take that to its logical scientific conclusion, any magnetized metal in that area would have been sucked into that hole too.
Yeah.
So, all the guys with guns, they would have to give it, the doctor's glasses would have flown off.
Yeah. That entire ship would have collapsed in.
Literally their zippers, and I don't know if the metal in their teeth would have done that. But, just not having it work on all metal, because I realize magnetism, for example, doesn't work on aluminium.
It's aluminum.
Had to throw that in. But it's just, I understand. Yes, it'll suck the Daleks in. It should have taken all of the other stuff that was metal in that control room. So again, it's maybe we're overthinking it, and I'm sure we are.
Maybe.
In 1966, if you were a 12-year-old kid, 14-year-old kid, as I would have been at that time, I wouldn't have noticed that. But again, I will be honest with you, I don't remember this movie at all. Now, saying that, if it came out after the first week of June in 66, I wouldn't have seen it. Because we came home, if I recall correctly, the first week of June.
I'll go check. Now, the first movie came out in... where is it? First movie came out in 65. This... August 1966.
So, yeah, that's why I wouldn't have seen it. It came out 2 months after I left.
Right. But that's the thing, is that the first movie... Yeah, the first movie... Well, it says 1966 USA, but it's 1965 in the UK.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. So, yeah, it's like there was kind of a new plan, or even if they had just said, like, well, the specific metal that the Daleks use, Dalekanium or something. I think they brought that up in some other episode.
Absurdium.
Yeah. If they had said that, it's like, well, that is highly magnetized. Like, all right, that works. Yeah. But at least it was something different. They did still have the pieces of wood that divert or stop the bomb, but at least this time it made more sense. I still don't understand how that bomb didn't just shatter through that wood and keep going, but whatever. So there was at least that, and there was a bunch of wood and not just like 3 logs, and then it redirected, but still.
And considering how far it dropped, I mean, you talk about reaching terminal velocity, you're right. If that was just wooden planks there, that thing would have gone right through them.
Yeah. So, let's see. We had the rebellion, which the rebellion of the Robomen, I honestly look better in the serial. Like, there were a bunch of them like picking them up and stuff like that and throwing them down places. Like this one, it's like, they kind of like went over, like struggled with them a bit. There were those 2 guys that put the blanket over it. It didn't even do anything. It just like, he just like stopped. Like this Dalek was so perplexed that someone tried this. So, and it is also their fault that this whole rebellion happened, because the Doctor walks over and does this really long announcement to get the Robomen to rebel, and not a one of those Daleks actually tried to shoot him. So,
yeah. I guess Barbara did that, didn't she? In the serial, didn't she say the Robomen attack and this cannot be countermanded?
Yeah, I think so. And then just the whole climax, yeah, it just wasn't as good. I mean, maybe they spent all their money on throwing all those Dalek suits around and throwing them through walls and stuff like that. So, I don't know. But, I mean, it was okay. But, and I guess that's just sort of the whole movie. It was just, it's all right. Like, this is a very much an improvement on the last movie, but it's not enough. Like I was trying to think, like, okay, this is a shorter version and stuff. I was like, okay, well, let's set this aside from the first movie. Would I, like, if I was just an average viewer, would I want to watch this over the serial? And I don't think I would. First off, obviously, it doesn't fit into the canon of the episodes and everything, but it just, like, it just doesn't work as well, and especially just without the characters. Yeah. So,
one last thing for me is, it is from the story, obviously, by Terry Nation. It makes you wonder if Terry Nation had control of the Daleks, which he did.
Yeah.
Did he simply then turn this idea over to a ghostwriter and they simply condensed, or did he actually think, I'm going to take the best of my serial and condense it down here? Because it seems to me that if he had more control over it, it wouldn't have been quite as muddled as this. Yeah. Unless, of course, he wrote the script and then the studio said, we're going to do this with it, and the director said we're going to, and then he didn't have any say over that, which a lot of writers didn't back then. But again, Terry Nation would have been a pretty big name back then, especially since he was already huge for Doctor Who and the other things that he had written.
I would guess that he wasn't really involved with this, so but yeah,
other than cashing the checks.
Yeah, which apparently, like, I guess they still do that, like, to this day. Like, the Terry Nation estate, like, they still have to always get permission to use the Daleks, even nowadays. So, yeah. Which I think that's why, like, there's supposed to be an agreement between the BBC and the Terry Nation estate. Is like, the Daleks have to be in at least one episode every season of Doctor Who for them to keep the rights to the Daleks. Yeah, which is pretty crazy. But anyway, that's Daleks Invasion of Earth 2150 AD.
And not one bit of it looked like 2150 AD. There were, again, Del Monte ads and sugar puffs and all the stuff that you would expect from the 20th century. So why didn't they just set it in the 20th century? I mean, there was no specific reason why it had to be 200 years in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're done. Well, we are done because that's it. There's no more movies.
Stick a fork in us.
Yeah.
We're done.
So we have seen every Doctor Who movie at this point, though, between these two and the 8th Doctor's movie, which, man, that is like a masterpiece compared to this. And that one's a kind of a goofy movie too, but for different reasons.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. Next week we are back to the serials. and we will be sticking with those pretty much until we're done. So,
all right. So Susan will be gone.
Susan will be gone.
What is the next serial called?
I believe it's called The Rescue, and it's only 2 episodes long. So, yeah. And yeah, it'll be the Doctor, Ian, and Barbara at that point. So that'll be interesting. I wonder, maybe they'll introduce a new companion next episode. I don't know, but yeah, we will have to figure that out next week. We're done with this. Yeah, that is pretty much it. With all that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of our Doctor Who classic or any of the movie reactions, you can click on the 2 playlists. You can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and be sure you hit that notification bell. You can support me on Patreon and follow me on social media, links below in the description. See you guys later.